Bruchim habaim. Welcome to Yeshiva University, where our core Torah values shape everything we do and guide us toward a better tomorrow. In the classroom and the lab, in the Beit Midrash, on the court, on Shabbat, and all around the city, New York City. Grow at your own pace with smaller class sizes, research opportunities on and off campus, over 150 clubs, 15 D3 NCAA teams, and top-tier internships at companies like Bloomberg, Google, and Facebook. Our Bayit is your Bayit. When it's time to play, and when it's time to pray. When you have a craving, when you need a break. When you celebrate, and when you shine. Come on in and meet your chavruta, your teammates, your professors, this guy. Connect with people from down the street and from down under. With over 80% of students receiving financial aid, Yeshiva University distributes more than $45 million annually to ensure that a YU education is affordable for all. Make YU your home base, and you've got all the bases covered, from first base to playing base, from this kind of base to the base medrash.
Come on, that's a stretch.
You can get where you're going faster with our Pathways programs, dual degrees, and partnerships. And when you're ready for the workforce, we've got you covered with a network of over 70,000 alumni. An astounding 94% of students are employed in grad school or both within 6 months after graduation. We are student-driven, outcome-driven, values-driven, deeply rooted, and forward-focused. Oh, and we also have all of this. What are you waiting for? Experience YU and step into your future.
Welcome. Welcome to Yeshiva University's open house. It deserves a round of applause. My name is Mark Zarnest, and I am the Acting Director of Undergraduate Admissions here at YU. I want to open by showing my Hakaras HaTov, Hakarat HaTov, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to Hashem, for allowing us to be able to gather in person once again. And I want to recognize at this time all the deans and administrations that are able to be here with us again in person, many of whom you will have the opportunity to interact with over the course of our open house program. We know that there are many options for a college degree, and we are humbled that you have chosen and joined us today to hear more about what YU has to offer. There is no place else where you could learn from distinguished Rabbeim and world-renowned Torah scholars and faculty. Only at YU can you be true to your Jewish identity and obtain the tools to be successful in the workplace while still being true to yourself. YU is the only college where we fly the Israeli flag 365 days a year. These factors in itself are what makes YU such a vibrant community driven by our core Torah values. We want this day to be informative as you are making the important decision of where to go to college, and it comes down to fit. Where will you be able to thrive academically, socially, spiritually, and we truly believe that YU will check all those boxes for each and every one of you. So I encourage you today to visit all of our breakouts, hear from our faculty, our current and former students, and most importantly, ask questions. We are here to guide you through what should be a fun process, and we hope one day to welcome you to our community, the YU community. Of course, this is only the first step. We encourage you to visit campus again, sit in on a class, check out the robust atmosphere in our Batei Medrash, meet and interact with our current students. But enough from me. As we kick off the program this morning, it really gives me great honor and privilege to introduce Yeshiva University's 5th president, Rabbi Dr. Ari Berman.
Did it go by? Yeah? Okay, you called Mark publicly? Is that? I go by both. It's amazing. Okay, it's really so wonderful to be here. Thank you so much, Mark, for leading us off and for the incredible work of our excellent admissions team, bringing everybody together here today. We have such a great team. Chad Austin, who's here, who's done such a great job. I mean, there's so many wonderful people. It'll be hard to go through all, but I see our deans and chairs of departments. Our vice president, Doran Stern, who's here. It's amazing, Doran. And everyone who has joined us today. Now, I can't see every face in the crowd, but I'm pretty sure I saw Shuki walk in. Did I see Shuki walk in? You guys there? Shuk? Okay, good. Like, this is like really our crowd. A lot of my personal friends who are here. And I look forward to seeing you afterwards. Is that Chaim Nissel? Is that Dean Chaim Nissel? Oh my gosh, Dean Chaim Nissel. Vice Provost Chaim Nissel, who's here with us. And just such a great gathering of the YU family, friends, personal friends. Always exciting to be here with you this morning. You know, I really love this time of year. This time of year in autumn. The trees, the leaves of all colors. In my front yard in Teaneck, we have this great tree that turns red. It's like bright red. It's beautiful. One of my neighbors just said that they wanted to take a picture underneath my tree. And I was thinking, my first thought was, you know, this isn't my tree. It's Hashem's tree. I have very little to do with this tree. You know, and when I look at it, it reminds me so much of the burning bush. Like, this is the tree that's filled with Hashem. But more importantly, it's true wherever one looks. When I see this tree, when I see all the colors, I think about Elizabeth Barrett Browning's famous poem that the earth's crammed with heaven and every common bush afire with God. But only he who sees takes off his shoes. You know, there's holiness and godliness in all that is around us. We just need to recognize it and sanctify it and respect it by taking off our shoes. And this thought directly relates to why we're all gathered here today at Yeshiva University for our open house. You know, what is Yeshiva University? What does a student experience when they are here? Recently, I heard a thought quoted from our Dean of Reitz, Rabbi Menachem Penner, who cited Rebbe Mori Rav Aaron Lichtenstein Zatzal, that I thought was a very apt description of Yeshiva University. In last week's parsha, it says, Vayirav Yomar, Man nora hamakom hazeh, ein zeh ki em beit Elokim v'zeh shar hashamayim. When Yaakov arises from his dream, he describes the place where he's rested as both a bayis, a beit Elokim, and a shar, a gateway. And Rav Lichtenstein asks, what's the difference between a bayit, a house, and a shar, and a gateway? And he said that a bayit is very contained. You know its dimensions, you know its limitations, you know what's inside of it. A gateway opens you up to a path that's way beyond. This spot, this place, it's a bayit, it's a house, but it's also a gateway to something greater. And I think about that when it comes to Yeshiva University. So allow me to introduce you first to the bayit, to the house of Yeshiva University. Now, if you were looking to buy a house, what would be the first question you would ask? What would you ask if you're looking to buy a house? Where is it? Location. Okay, good. So you have a pretty good location right in Midtown Manhattan. Can't get a better location. Excitement, Manhattan, everything that's around. It's a great location. Good. What else would you ask? What would you ask? Honestly, if you're looking for a house, what's the first thing when the realtor... Say again? How much is it? Is it affordable? What's the price range? So I'm happy to share with you that it's affordable. There are many scholarships that we have, proactive scholarships. We're just opening up new scholarships this year. Scholarships that speak straight to our values. Scholarships in, we just opened up our medical leader scholarship. that for the 10 top students in our community who get automatically accepted into not just Stern College, but also Einstein, when they apply as seniors in high school, automatic admittance program, 5 from Stern, 5 from Yeshiva College, and along with that comes our top honors scholarship. We just opened a new community leader scholarship that students who exemplify, our top 10 students in our community that exemplify the values that we think are promising future community leaders, top honor scholarship with a separate program for them. Also straight track all through YU, including for a master's degree where they have a scholarship as well. All of our honors programs, our Strauss Scholars, and a whole slew of new scholarships that's opened up that I can assure you that the question of is it the right price? The answer just is yes. The answer is yes, it'll be affordable. We can make that work and fit with your students. So you have the location is great. You have the affordability. Let me tell you what else inside this is inside this home. You have a gorgeous Beit Midrash and the greatest Rabbanim, scholars, mechanchim, mechanchot, Jewish leaders and thinkers like no other university in the world. You will not find in the world any place where you or your daughter has the access to the greatest Jewish thinkers, rabbis, mechanchot, educators in the world here at Yeshiva University. And this room has many other rooms. We have art rooms for creative expression. I just visited the new art center. Oh my gosh, is that beautiful? If you're interested, please go up to the 8th floor. The portrait room and the landscaping room. They have all the different rooms. I was so blown away. It's beautiful new space. We have state-of-the-art science labs. Our new Matrani computer science labs. Please go up and see all the labs. And computer science, which is a huge focus of ours. New rooms for our business schools with new terminals, giving access and experience straight to the trading floor. All these rooms, all the academic rooms are part of this great experience at Yeshiva University. And this home is cozy. Our student-to-faculty ratio ensures that everyone's room is warm, nurturing, and caring to your individual needs. Okay, that is a student situation, a scholastic situation, where our students are friends and have relationships with their faculty members that oftentimes are invited to their chuppah. This doesn't happen in other places. And therefore, they're able to write the best evaluations on a personal basis and give the best advice along the way because they actually know the students. And you're able to go up to the 5th floor. You'll see the new career center that we are building, our Sheva Glabach Career Center, for individualized attention to make sure that every student here is on the pathway, not just to their first great job, but to an impactful career in their future. And this center will connect you to all of our alumni. You have the greatest alumni network that afterwards, when you leave, you'll find that people care and want to help you. Not just if they're alumni of Yeshiva University. What I found is if you're Jewish, you want to help a Yeshiva University student, we have such an extensive network that will be able to help any graduate, anyone who comes through this walls. And of course, this house is enjoyable and fun as well. We have all sorts of clubs, outings around New York City, social events and opportunities to explore your interests and discover joy and excitement. And I have to tell you that in this home, Shabbos is amazing. Shabbos is amazing. You are going to come to Stern for the academics and great Torah, but you're going to stay for Shabbos. Because Shabbos is amazing. In this room, hundreds of students are singing Alachadodi afterwards, oneg, meals, unbelievable. Shabbos is amazing. This is all you're going to find in the home of Yeshiva University. But it's not just a home. it's also a shar. It's a gateway. First of all, it's a gateway to yourself. What we believe is that education is not just a window into the world, it's a light unto your soul. You will find here the possibilities of you. You will learn to believe in yourself and to find out who you are by your study of our Torah and also the Mada, by your internalizing the great values, the core Torah core values of Yeshiva University. You will discover and become the person that you were always destined to be. Each individual is different and precious. And we embrace the Tselem Elokim of each of our students. It's a shar. It's a gateway to yourself. It's a gateway to the rest of your life. Who you marry, where you live, the lifelong relationships, both personal and professional, are all shaped by where you spent the next few years. The network and relationships you create around yourself will be shaped by who you'll be with in the next few years. Some people in this room are my closest friends from my years in Yeshiva University. Still friends. Only 10 years ago we graduated about. Still, these are your closest friends and your network. You will shape the fundamental questions of your lives will be shaped in this place. And finally, it's a gateway to Hashem. Through your learning and through your davening, you will find the most transcendent moments here. You will see Hashem in your Torah studies, but not just in your Torah studies. You will see Hashem in the trees, as in the front of my house. You will see the Tselem Elokim in each and every person, and learn to appreciate your Tselem Elokim, to believe in the holiness and uniqueness of oneself. But it's even more, because at YU, our students not only see God in this world, but they bring God into this world. By their actions, midos, and character, they sanctify God's name wherever their paths in life take them. This is a gateway. It's not just a house. And it's a gateway to lead to a life of great personal and professional success. A life filled with chesed, with love, with a chevra, with community, and with values. And a life of fulfillment, meaning, and purpose. What more would you want for yourselves and for your daughters? And all for a price you can afford. Looking forward to welcoming you each back as a Yeshiva University student, so this place can be your home and the gateway to the rest of your lives. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi Dr. Berman, for your remarks and, of course, for your leadership. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce you to what I think is the highlight of our open house program, the student and alumni panel, moderated by our Chief Enrollment Management Officer, Chad Austin. These students and recent alum will share their YU experience and how it developed them into who they are today.
Good morning. Come on. Good morning. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Rabbi Berman, for your words this morning. And welcome, everyone. I don't know about you, but it has been a long, close to 2 years since we last had an in-person open house, and it is so amazing to see this room fill today. And we are beyond excited to have you here, to welcome the next generation of Jewish leaders and scholars. My name is Chad Austin, and I am the Chief Enrollment Management Officer for Yeshiva University. And I could not be happier to be moderating this panel of our truly stellar current students and our even more impressive alumni. It is our hope that you hear about their experiences here at YU And we want it to resonate with you today so that you can have the same opportunity to walk the halls of this historic and vital institution for the Jewish people. Now, without any further ado, I'd like to invite our panelists up, and we will go ahead with our discussion this morning. I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves, tell us where they're from, what their current or former major is, and of course, for our distinguished alumni, what are they currently doing? So we're going to start with Lily.
Hi, I'm Lily Palnetsky. I'm from Teaneck, New Jersey. I'm a senior, and I'm majoring in computer science and minoring in math.
I'm Liba Sullivan. I'm from Queens, New York. I'm a senior, and I'm majoring in biology.
Hi everyone, my name's Leah Sheverts. I'm from East London in South Africa. I'm a junior and I'm majoring in finance and strategy.
Hi, my name is Tali Goldman. I'm from Highland Park, New Jersey, currently living in Teaneck, and I'm currently a data analyst in the private equity department at Bloomberg.
Hi, I'm Adina. I'm originally from Silver Spring, Maryland. Hi to the Silver Spring families who made the trek up. I majored in biology in Stern and minored in Judaic studies, and I'm currently a first year at Einstein Medical School.
Hi everyone, my name is Ayala Chakhter. I graduated Stern in 2020 with a bachelor's in psychology and studio art, and I am currently in graduate school going for my doctorate in clinical psychology.
Great. Welcome. So we always like to start off these panels by asking our panelists why they chose YU and maybe what other schools they were considering, but why they eventually ended here at YU. So why don't we start with Lily?
Yeah, sure. I think the first thing for me was really environment. That was the number one question for me, and why you really fit that bill for me.
When I was deciding what school I wanted to go to, I knew that I was really interested in science and that I probably wanted to pursue medicine. So that was a big factor for me when I was looking what college that I wanted to go to. And I knew that Stern would have great opportunities within the science field, which is why I chose it. But another amazing factor that I didn't even have so much in mind at the time was the community here and the environment that I'm in, all the friends that I've made, the teachers that care so much about you, and it's been incredible.
So not only am I an international student, but I'm also a Mechina student. So I grew up with no Jews around me. So it's really Hashem that brought me to YU. It really, really is. It's like the path least traveled. But I'm so grateful for it. And everyone always complains about the bubble. But I'm so grateful to be in the bubble. And I think looking back with hindsight, the reason I chose YU is because to be finally in that bubble and not having to stand alone.
Looking back at my senior year of high school, I applied all over. I applied to like a few Ivies, a lot of state schools. I'm sure there's a ton of people here applying around. And when it came time for my decision, I realized that a lot of them can give me great aspects, like a great community, great academics, but YU was the only school that gave me all of it together, you know, like the Jewish classes and a great community and great academics.
I also applied to a few different schools. I think the main thing that spoke to me were, first of all, that, like you were saying, just like you could do a lot of different things all in YU. I was very excited about the option to take Judaic studies at a high level, and also the fact that the classes are really small was something that really spoke to me. My high school had 45 people in my grade, both boys and girls, so I was used to a small environment, and that was something that really helped me thrive here, that my teachers knew my name and were like checking in with me. I was sick one day and my chemistry teacher emailed me after class to ask if I was okay and where I was, and I don't think that's something you'll get pretty much anywhere else.
I just want to start by saying that while I think all us alumni could say we never left the Yeshiva University family, it is so nice to be back in the Yeshiva University Stern College house, as Rabbi Berman has mentioned. I graduated during COVID, so it's really, really nice to be back here. And why I chose Yeshiva University. So for me, it was kind of an obvious choice. I actually didn't apply anywhere else, but I have to say it exceeded every expectation I had. Besides for the fact that I came from a YU family, so it was kind of the obvious choice. There is nothing like this, and I know this was already mentioned, but You don't have this anywhere else where there's such a deep, rich Jewish presence, and you could really strengthen your Jewish studies, your Jewish identity, without compromising your secular studies. And I think that that's something that's so unique about Yeshiva University. There are unbelievable Torah opportunities, both inside of the classroom and outside, but not once have I ever felt like I was compromising anything about my secular studies, about striving for whatever career path I wanted. And I think one other thing I want to point out is also what Adina just mentioned, how small Yeshiva University is. You don't have this anywhere else where every faculty really gets to know the students. And you have such an opportunity to get involved so early on in campus and be a leader in the community because of how small it is. I mean, I think all of us have gotten involved pretty early on, and when I had to ask for letters of recommendation from professors, I mean, the letters of recommendations they wrote were so personal, and you don't have that in other schools, so I think that's also another reason why I am so grateful, and I was so happy to choose Yeshiva University.
Excellent, excellent. Lily, I was really fascinated hearing about your major and what you're doing outside of the classroom with the clubs and organizations that you're involved in. Can you speak about that for this morning?
Yeah, sure. So I am the co-president of the Computer Science Club at Stern, and I think it's a really great place for us for a couple different goals. One is just create a community. I think one thing that's really unique about the computer science department here as opposed to like in other universities is because it's smaller, we're able to really get to know each other, and I think I know the freshmen, I know the second years, I know the third years. Anytime I see someone in the hall, like in our classroom area they don't know, I'm like, hi, I become friends with them instantly, just like, we know each other. We're in the same class. We're basically in the same class, even if we're not. And I think, so definitely social on that end. And then also like career advancing, we try to bring in alumni, we try to bring in different speakers, create that community. And it's been really fun getting to know that. I guess different examples of events is we've had interview workshops, we've had one time we had a ethics in computer science with different experts in the field. So it's a really great place to get to know other majors and also learn from everybody.
And Lily, what about the internships you've had here at YU? I was really impressed hearing about the multitude of them.
Yeah, sure. I was really lucky this past summer. I got an internship at Amazon as a software development engineer. So I worked within AWS, which is like the cloud. If you hear the cloud, that's what it is. And it was a really great learning opportunity. And I think is that what you're referring?
Yep, that was great. Liba, I was so impressed to hear about not only are you a biology major, but you do so much outside of the classroom, which really makes a college education very well-rounded. Can you talk about the wide range of extracurricular activities?
Sure. So I love being involved beyond the classroom, and it's been a highlight of my experience at YU, the various different clubs and extracurriculars that I've had the opportunity to be able to join. This year, I'm one of the co-secretary generals of Yunmun, and we're really excited. It's been a lot of work planning, gathering all the students. We have over 400 high school delegates coming to discuss some of the big topics in our world today, and we have close to 100 staff from YU that are also working on the conference. So that's been really exciting. I'm also one of the presidents of UAID, which is our public health club on campus. It stands for United Against Inequities and Diseases. I think, a little over 2 weeks ago, we hosted a flu shot drive, and we got close to 300 people on campus vaccinated. So that was really exciting. And we have a lot of other things in the works this semester that we're really excited about. Yeah.
Thank you. Leah, you definitely take the prize for having the best accent on this panel this morning. So, Leah, you told us that you came from South Africa. Can you tell us about your experience coming and studying in a foreign country?
Sure. So it wasn't only just a culture shock because it's a foreign country, but I literally grew up being the only Jew in my grade. And it's been the most amazing experience. And I couldn't have chosen a better gateway, as President Berman was saying. I look back at where my life could have gone and the trajectory it could have been on. And I look now and I'm so grateful. Speaking to Rabbi Ari Solomon, he also helped me get me here. But the city is incredible. That's one aspect of it. Living in New York, there's nothing quite like it. Like, it's the city that never sleeps, and there's so many opportunities just to have fun. And then also just what I was speaking about earlier, the bubble. I think a lot of people complain about the bubble, so I hear if you've grown up in it. But now that I've had the opportunity to be in the bubble, there is nothing more beautiful. You never have to compromise, as you were saying. I never have to worry about joining the drama or the debate or the sports team because practice is going to be on Shabbat. Like, that's not even a question. You can excel in your secular and your academic studies and be the best version of yourself and the best Jewish version of yourself. So I'm super grateful to be here.
You're also a student in our Mechina program.
Yes.
Can you talk about that experience?
Life-changing. No, really.
Okay.
Like, Dean Schechter and Rabbi Hadjioff, I just saw them this semester, and unfortunately I couldn't take any of their classes, which I was devastated about, but I'm taking incredible classes as well now. But it changed my life. I came to YU, and I couldn't speak Hebrew since my bat mitzvah, and I grew up in a classroom like always having to stand alone, and I went to Cheder lessons for a little bit growing up. I have incredible parents who tried to raise me on that path, but the Mechina program changed my life in so many ways. I was sitting in a classroom with girls just like me, excited, eager to learn. They took the path least traveled, and there we were sitting in a classroom learning together with teachers so passionate and excited to teach us and to answer our questions that we felt comfortable asking in the classroom. And I look at where I was when I started and 3 years later, and I have so much more to grow, but the growth that I've seen within myself on a personal level and as a young Jewish woman is phenomenal, and I'm so excited to keep growing at YU.
I love hearing this. Tali, you spoke about New York City being your college campus. Can you talk about some of the experience that you had that really embody this amazing landscape that we call our university?
Yeah, so I don't know how I came in feeling about this city, but once I was here for college, I was like, this is an insane opportunity, and I'm going to take advantage of it. And I'm like, I am in the center of all these different industries. I'm going to go get internships and find out what they're really like in the real world, you know? So I'm taking a principles of management class, and I'm enjoying it. So I was like, okay, let me see what it's really like. I get an internship at a hotel company. It was good, you know? So I'm taking an accounting class the next semester, get an internship at an accounting firm, and I can because it's 10 minutes away walking from my dorm. It was tax season, and I did not want to be an accountant during tax season, I learned, you know? So that was a great learning opportunity that I would not have found out otherwise. The next semester, I interned at NBC as an entertainment research analyst. Loved that, then decided I wanted to be a business analytics major based on that with a computer science minor, which led me to my next internship at Bloomberg as a data analyst, which then led to my current full-time role at Bloomberg. So it was like the city and the opportunity that it offers and all the internships that I had throughout the semesters that brought me here and really gave me that real-world experience in addition to my classes.
And you had an opportunity to take classes in addition to your internships,
yeah,
right?
Stern is amazing, and we have a dual curriculum, but they still make it very manageable to have internships. There was one semester, NBC wanted me 3 days a week, and I was able to stack all my classes on Mondays and Wednesdays. It was a lot, like 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. straight, but I was able to then intern on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday and get that experience.
Thank you. Adina, so we're going to be calling you, God willing, Dr. Israel one day. Adina is a first-year student at Albert Einstein College of Medicine. And something you said to me really stood out. Most of the people talk about the coursework, the rigors of their undergraduate program of study that prepares them for medical school. And I'm sure that's all true. But you spoke about the time management skills that you learned at YU, having the dual curriculum, having to balance all the demands and everything you wanted to take care of. Tell me how that really has prepared you for medical school.
Sure. So, yeah, like you were saying, balancing, dual curriculum. I also minored in Judaic studies, so I really took a lot of Judaics classes. I wasn't just meeting the bare minimum requirement because I loved them and they were amazing, and I didn't feel like 1 to 3 classes a semester was enough. So I definitely learned very quickly in Stern how to figure out what was my priority, what I wanted to be immersing myself in, what kinds of things were going to make me happiest, and there are just so many opportunities being thrown at you every day. You're getting hundreds of emails about clubs to join and things to do. So just kind of taking that all in and then figuring out, okay, these are the things I actually want to do. Here's how I want to do them, and managing that and staying on top of your coursework. I think has made my transition to medical school easier than it could have been otherwise. It's very busy, but I'm used to being busy and I'm used to doing things that I enjoy and finding times to do the things that I enjoy, and I really attribute that to all the opportunities I was offered in Stern and figuring out how to balance them well.
So for those of you who may have tuned in last year to our virtual open house, you might recognize Ayelet. She did such a great job. We actually asked her to come back and speak again. She was a current student at the time, and now she's a former student. So why don't you tell us what you've been doing over the last year?
I was an alumni last year also. Yeah, but I feel like I'm still here. So over the past year, after I graduated in 2020, I spent a year as an intensive outpatient treatment program coordinator in a behavioral health clinic, which was kind of unique with a bachelor's degree to have such a clinical role. And I have to say, even though usually undergraduates psychology classes tend to be a little bit more on the theoretical side, it helped me tremendously in the clinical field as well. I'm just thinking back to, I was interning there while I was a student also, and then I got a full-time job after. But while I was interning there and I was taking abnormal psychology with Dr. Reif here, it was actually funny because I was working with my supervisor, who was the director of the program, kind of trying to diagnose these complex clients that we were working with. And there was one client that my supervisor and also the other psychologists, so very much like postdoctoral students, had a really hard time diagnosing this client. And I had just learned about this disorder, and I was like, I was loving that class. So I actually suggested a diagnosis. This was very early on in my clinical field. I didn't even have a bachelor's degree yet. And I remember my supervisor turned to me and she's like, "That's brilliant. How do you know that? You're an undergrad." And I'm like, yeah, Yeshiva University really trains us well. So I was doing that. And then after working there for a year, I wanted to further my education in psychology, so I decided to go to graduate school to get my doctorate in clinical psychology. And actually in Yeshiva University's graduate school, Furkauf, which is actually one of the top graduate schools for getting your doctorate in clinical psychology in the country. Yeshiva University. Anyway, and my classes in Stern has really helped me out for being successful in my graduate school studies as well. I'm just thinking back to, we had the unique opportunities to take these small research seminar classes with Dr. Chalik, which are classes with only 5 students, and it's like research-based, and you learn like the ins and outs and foundations of research in psychology, and it's a very different style than some other classes that we had in undergrad. But now that I'm in graduate school, I think most of my classes are exactly like that class. So it's amazing how prepared I was for that. And also just the relationships that I made with the professors while I was here and how helpful they were in guiding me through the application process. And even now, I'm still in touch with my professors about questions that come up related to my psychology studies. So yeah, it's great to be here to really talk to you guys about it, because I really do have a lot of Hakar Tov for Yeshiva University and Stern. So.
I'm pretty sure Ayelet enjoyed her experience here. Lily, you're a senior. It's November of your senior year. How many job offers do you have for when you graduate?
I mean, I accepted one, if that's what you're talking about. I did have 2 things. I was deciding between Amazon and Google as a software engineer next year, and I signed with Google, which I'm really excited about. And I really just want to speak to YU's involvement with that. I think because of the small class sizes, because we're able to get to know our professors, I've been able to have a close relationship with Professor Alan Broder, who's the head of the computer science department. Excellent. You should definitely go ahead and meet him, 9th floor, after. Talk to him, just get to know him. He's been really great, and he's been throughout the time just reaching out for me, connecting me with people. He then connected me with some YU alum at Google. I also spoke with Professor Ari Shamash, who's also a computer science professor. And I'm actually going to be going to work in his team at Google, which is really exciting that I get to continue that there, and I'll be with some other Stern alum.
Congratulations. Liba, can you tell us about the work you're currently doing in Professor Irina Katrina's lab?
Yeah, sure. So she was actually one of my professors that I took for a few semesters. I had her for organic chemistry, biochemistry, and then I went up there after a class and I said, I'm really interested in doing research. Are there any opportunities, where I can apply? And immediately she offered, oh, come work in my lab. This was 2 years ago almost. It was still, I guess, a little less than 2 years ago during COVID. So we were on Zoom, but she had a lot of work that was happening with computational biochemistry. So this was on the computers. And she was so excited to welcome me into the lab, had meetings with everyone in the labs, explained to us what we were going to do for the semester. And now it's a year and a half later, and I'm still working in her lab. And she's been absolutely incredible and wants to just teach all of her students and have us understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. We're studying HIV and different inhibitors with it, running different simulations on the computer, and it's been a really incredible experience just seeing, first of all, getting to know her and her getting to know me, and also just seeing how excited she was to take me into the lab and how passionate she was to have her students learn about research and learn about her work and be able to be involved on campus. And it really just goes to show how much the teachers care about us at school. And this is just one example, but I've had numerous professors help me with applying to different internships, offering me letters of recommendations, and they're really just so passionate about the students and our success. And that helps beyond the classroom and also within the classroom, because you really feel the appreciation that they have for us and that we have for them.
Leah, can you talk about your unique internship experiences you've had here at YU?
Sure. So I'm part of the Timid Fellowship Club at campus. They have them all across the US, but YU has an incredible chapter of it. And I went, because I joined the club as a Sims student, which you can join even if you're a student. It gives students the opportunity to have actual business experience during the school semester with Israel and startups there. So I worked on a project last semester as on the consulting side of things. For a startup called Otterize, and it was a really amazing experience, and I was fortunate enough to get into their fellowship. YU actually had the most kids on their fellowship out of all the different colleges, and it was an incredible experience. I worked for a startup in Tel Aviv. It was amazing.
Tali, you told me that even though you have a full-time job, you are on a daily basis getting actively recruited on LinkedIn and other platforms. Can you share why you think that is? Other than being awesome.
No. I will say two things. One, like I said before, all of the internship opportunities that I had as a result of the location, and the manageability of classes along with internships throughout my semesters here allowed me to be a part of clubs and have a ton of experience that I just don't think most people my age had. And I will reiterate what Lily said. I was a minor in computer science. It's an incredible department. It's truly amazing. You should see the 9th floor. And
Beautiful.
Even though I was just a minor, I took 6 classes, I came out with such an incredible foundation of knowledge in computer science, and that is what employers are looking for. Any type of business industry right now would love you to be able to code. The more you can code, the more marketable you are. And Professor Dr. Broder, along with the entire computer science department, will teach you how to be an excellent coder.
Adina, I understand you are the recipient of the Ann Scheiber Scholarship Program. Can you share for our guest today what exactly that is?
I'd love to. I think it's something that probably some students have heard of, but there is a grant in place for students who get into and accept Einstein as their medical school. There is money that Stern has to give them a scholarship to medical school. And that might sound like a normal thing, but it's insane. One of the most difficult things about medical school is coming to terms with the cost of it, and the fact that coming to Stern will possibly take some of that away. It's up to a full scholarship. It's really just an unbelievable opportunity. I will also toot Stern's horn a little. I think, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but 100% of students who applied to medical school got in. Again, that's like not even remotely a normal thing. I can't say the statistics for the rest of the country, but I would be greatly surprised if there was another university with that number. Numbers to get into medical school right now are nearly impossible, so to get every student who applied in, that alone should be an enticing factor to come to Yeshiva University, aside from the fact that that shows that clearly they have a very rigorous and impressive science program and a lot of mentors. I'll just put myself out there. If anybody is interested in the sciences, I'd be more than happy to speak with them after. I'm sure you can get my information somehow. You can call me or follow up with me after. I'm happy to speak to you about what's offered here, but it's just like, it's really a phenomenal program. What you were saying about getting an internship from a professor, research opportunity, is not an abnormal thing. Pretty much anyone I know who wanted to research with a professor had that opportunity. It's in the labs that are literally down the hall from here. They're doing amazing things. They're being published. You can go speak in conferences about the work that you're doing, literally just by walking over to your professor after class and saying, you know, do you have any research that you'd like to involve me in? And they know you, and they trust you already, and they know what you might be capable of. And that's something that's really, really unique about this school and something that I feel very, very fortunate for.
So it's not just medical school where we had 100% placement of at least one of their choices. It's dental school, 100%. It's law school, it's 100%. And it's 94% of our graduates either have a full-time job, are in graduate professional school within, or both, within 6 months of graduation. So she talked about it being insane. It truly is insane. And it's a testament to what our students get here. Yes, sir. Ayelet, can you talk about the competing requirements of both your Torah studies and secular studies while you were a student here at Stern?
Okay, so I really appreciate that question because as I hope you could all see, Yeshiva University is really not compromising our secular studies because there are a lot of successful people up here, and we are just 6 of many, many, many graduates. But what I want to also focus on is, like what I touched on at the beginning, the uniqueness of going to Stern College over a different college that you would also get great secular studies. The Torah studies. I mean, the teachers here, the Torah teachers, the Rebbeim, the mentors, not only do they teach with such passion and excitement and bring the classroom to life, but you also form relationships with them outside of the classroom, and they become your mentors that you go through life with. And I mean, I'm still in touch with so many of my professors, I mean, not just professors, but my teachers, my role models that I met here in Stern. And also, I get to have this like amazing relationship with my professors from the art department and the psychology department. And I think that that's so unique and something to like really take advantage of if you come, which I hope you do, to Stern College. And I got to take classes that not just were requirements that I needed to graduate, but actually classes that I was interested in and that I was excited for. And I have to say, there were some classes here and there that you gotta take for requirements, but for the most part, I genuinely enjoyed going to class. And I don't think that's such a common thing for stressed out undergraduate students, but I actually really enjoyed it. And I made relationships with people like professors and teachers that I am still very much in touch with today.
I just want to jump in for a second. You know, we are the panelists they've chosen to have here, so we likely did enjoy our time here, and we did. But Ayelet is not just spewing things. She's my ride home this afternoon, and she told me that I had to wait for her after we're done with this because she has to go visit all her professors that she hasn't seen in a while. So she really is being honest that those relationships are something that are important to her.
You also had to be nice to her because she's your ride home. I want to talk about Shabbos now on campus. Rabbi Berman, you talked about how Shabbos is amazing, but I think it's more important to hear from our current and former students about their experiences. So really, whoever wants to talk about how that experience has been, please feel free to jump in.
I could. Okay,
Yeah?
me again. Okay, I live in New York. I do not live very far from here. I still decided to stay in almost every Shabbat while I was in campus. Why? No one was forcing me. I really, really, really enjoyed it. And I know I was doing a lot of talking about relationships that you form with professors and teachers. For me, I think the best thing I gained from Stern, and I gained a lot of amazing things, were the friendships that I made here. And Shabbat is such a great way to do that. I mean, you're running in and out of classes and you make time for friends, but there is nothing like the friends that you make on Shabbat. And this is in addition to the amazing programming that Stern offers. And I'm pretty sure I've heard that it's only gotten better since I've left. So I'm sure you guys could talk more about that. But so even now, like some of my closest friends, I would say most of my closest friends, are people that I actually met while in Stern. And we formed such a close relationship because we stayed in together and we spent Shabbos together. And it's such a beautiful environment. It's such a cohesive community. And we daven together. There's beautiful singing at davening. We eat together, actually in this room. They set it up beautifully. And it's a really great time of your life to take advantage of these things because looking back now, I miss that. I miss being able to stay in Stern for Shabbat and have this moving and inspiring, but also really fun experience. So yes, definitely take advantage of that. I'm a big fan of Shabbat on campus, and I'd love also to hear more about it from how it is now.
Yeah, so just to tell you a little bit more about what it is now, I'm also from New York, and I could definitely go home for Shabbos a lot, but I absolutely love staying in for Shabbos, and it's added so much to my experience in Stern. I was not as good as Ayala, and my first year on campus, I didn't stay in for so many Shabboses before COVID, and I'm really sad now because I was missing out on all those Shabboses for that first year. Throughout COVID, I think, just because of the environment and because we were so grateful to be back, I was on campus last semester. When we reopened, a lot of people started to stay in more, and then we were all like, wow, wait, this is incredible. They have programming for us. They have a rabbi and Rebbitzin, Rabbi Bernstein and Penina Bernstein, and they're absolutely incredible, running back-to-back programming. Really, really amazing. I don't know if they're here, but definitely meet them if they are. We have 2 rabbinic intern couples this year also on campus who are here for Shabbos and for programming. And it's really just so incredible seeing the environment and seeing first the personalities outside the classroom and also just getting to meet new people that you don't necessarily have classes with and that you wouldn't bump into during the week. And like President Berman was saying before, we've had hundreds of people on campus this year for Shabbos, and it's been such a great environment, and I'm so, so grateful to be a part of it, and it's added a tremendous amount to my experience in Stern.
Lily, I think you wanted to mention something.
Oh yeah, sure. I also was going to talk about what Liba was saying, that my first year I did not plan on staying, and also I was told okay, in-towners, you live in town, you can go home. Yeah, I got a bag. I was going to bring it home. I got a new one. It was perfect. It was going to go on the bus. It was going to be great. And then also COVID hit. I see it once maybe, and I was okay, this is nice. I was and then weekend came the next week, and I was no, but I'm tired. I'm going to go home. COVID hit also. I started to stay in more. And now, I don't know the last time I saw my family. I miss you, but I don't know the last time I saw you. They tell me they miss me too. And I think just to highlight is that not only we have the rabbinic couples who are also awesome, but there are other guests each week. They've rotated. I know President Berman's been for Shabbos. Dean Schechter and her family were just here this past Shabbos, along with lots of other guests. And I think that's really been a highlight for me. And also just seeing people you don't necessarily see during the week, things like that. And I think it's the perfect mix between a Shabbaton, but also being able to be in this warm, cozy environment where it's you can make it what you want it to be.
We're coming close to the end of our panel, so I have one final question, which I think is important. What advice, what guidance can you give to the next generation of Jewish leaders, and of course their parents, that you wish you had prior to coming to YU? Anyone?
I think something that a lot of people have asked me about sending their children to Stern is something along the lines of, but isn't it time to send your child to the real world? Shouldn't they see the real world? I've heard it a lot of times. I personally don't know as a parent why you would not keep your child in this beautiful Jewish environment for as long as you possibly can. All of your children, fortunately or unfortunately, will have their plenty of time to be in the real world. And I think that Yeshiva University does such a phenomenal job. I mean, you've heard from everybody. They had plenty of exposure to things outside of this Yeshiva University space. And it's encouraged, and there are career centers and guidance to get you there. And there's also just such an amazing transition of helping you maintain this warm environment, maintain your Judaism and your Judaic classes, and also give you the highest caliber of secular education and connect you to the strongest career opportunities. So if that's something that concerns you, again, you're welcome to speak to any of us after, but I think that's something that should not really worry you.
I think as someone who was out of it and now is in it, I think Yeshiva University is the real world. I just don't have to compromise. And I think that's so beautiful that I get real life experiences here. I'm exposed to so many people, so many different things, so many incredible experiences, but I never have to think twice about being a young Jewish woman and what that means joining the debate team or joining the soccer team. I'm not on either of those things, but I'm just saying that yeah, you never have to compromise, and I could, maybe in my last year, yeah. But yeah, YU has been the most phenomenal experience, and there's nothing more beautiful than the bubble, and here you can be in the bubble, but yeah.
Let's hear it for our current and student panelists. Thank you. So what you heard from them this morning is a prime example of the richness that is YU, so much so that they've given up several hours of their Sunday morning to talk to you, to help you learn more about YU. All of our panelists truly embody the Torah values that are the core of who we are, and they do not wane over time. And it further emphasizes the robust alumni network of 70,000 strong and growing that is a resource and that's unique for YU. They want to truly pay back their experiences here at YU. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the day. I encourage you, as Mark said, to speak with as many people as you can. Get as much information as you need to make the most informed decision. And of course, we hope that that decision is to apply and come to YU. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Okay. Can we give it up one more time for our amazing panelists? Just hearing them reminds me how important it is what we do. And I don't remember all of you when you were making that jump to 12th to Yeshiva University. But it's great to see how far so many of our current students and our alumni have come. So I want to thank Chad and thank each and every one of our panelists once again for taking time on a Sunday, for coming to help show what makes the YU community and our education so very special. And one of those things that makes YU and our education so very special is that we are both a yeshiva and a university. So at this time, I am pleased to introduce our Associate Dean of Torah Studies, Shoshana Schechter.
It's a hard act to follow. Not you, but the panel. You too, though. Welcome, everyone. It's my honor to be here today to tell you about our amazing learning opportunities on the barren campus of Yeshiva University. My name is Shoshana Schechter, and I'm privileged to serve as the Associate Dean of Torah Studies and Spiritual Life here at Stern College. I am also not just here as an administrator and faculty member, but also as a parent, as you know, since you just heard from my daughter Ayelet, an alum. Now, one thing she didn't tell you, she told you about the psychology department. She was also a joint major in an art major, and the pictures that we have adorning our walls at home are something that I appreciate, her having been an art major as well. Now, I was sitting with Dr. Rabinovich, who I'm going to introduce very soon, and we were thinking, and we both said to each other, we could have been on that panel. We could have been on the alumni panel also. I can tell you I wouldn't be who I am or where I am if not for my experience at Stern at Yeshiva University. I loved it so much I stayed. I never left, maybe for 1 year to get a degree in journalism and then came back here. But I really am who I am today. My friendships, my closest friendships are the friendships that I made here. And my kids wouldn't be who they are today because I also met my husband in the YU library. So there you go. My role here at Stern is to bridge the academic Jewish studies and Torah learning together with our students' religious experience on campus. There are many ways to learn Torah at Yeshiva University, at Stern College specifically, in classes or in shiurim as part of the academic course of study, in the Beit Midrash or the library, academically in the classroom, or outside of the regular schedule of classes with inspirational lectures, shiurim, text-based shiurim, chavrutot, and peer learning. And all of these opportunities help make the Barron campus a Makom Torah and center of scholarship that we are not just proud of, but that is integral to our mission of values-driven learning rooted in our core Torah values. When Hashem tells Avraham, Lech Lecha, Me'artzecha, he starts out by telling him to leave, to separate from everything that he's familiar with, and go to the land that he's going to show him. The bracha ends with V'nivrachu b'cha kol mishpachot hadamah, that you should be a source of blessing to the world. How can Avram separate from the world and also be a source of blessing to the world at the same time? The duality, that duality is what our challenge is as proud members of the Jewish people. Remaining separate and maintaining our identity is crucial, while at the same time being a source of blessing to the world and contributing profoundly to the world through our actions and our character. That is what we strive to achieve at Yeshiva University. There are many colleges that you can go to get a good degree and to get into good graduate schools and to set you on a good career path. Now, it's true that our success rate in these areas is exceptional, not knocking that, but honestly, that's not the main reason that students come to us. They come to us because of our values-driven learning and our opportunities for Torah learning and personal and spiritual growth. I am certainly proud that my son, who is a comp sci major at Yeshiva University, got a job in Amazon. He didn't get the Google one, he got Amazon. After he graduated, and that my daughter Ayala got into Furkauf, doctoral program in psychology, but I'm even prouder that they accomplished these achievements all while continuing their learning and having opportunities to maximize their personal, religious, and spiritual growth. The learning is the heart and soul of this place. What other college has core Torah values as its framework and the foundation of everything it does? What other college has an Office of Torah and Spiritual Life and Associate Dean of the Office of Torah and Spiritual Life? What other college has a siyum at graduation? What other college has the president of the university join students for Shabbos and share personal experiences and choices that he made to get to where he is? What other college is committed to its students' personal and religious growth in addition to their academic and professional growth? What other college has faculty members who have students over for Shabbos? To the point that one year, one of my Mechina students, I always have Mechina students, and Leah, you're always invited back. She's been a few times. And this is who I get to teach. This is what I get to do here. Thank you for that. I invited students for Shabbos, and one student told me she couldn't come. I always have first-year students all together, like one of the first weeks of school, and she told me she couldn't come. And I said, why? It's such a great bonding experience. The bonding that happens over Shabbos is so amazing. And we come to campus also, but that first Shabbos at my house with home-cooked food. And she said, yeah, I told my parents that my teacher, my college professor invited me for a weekend, and they thought that was weird. So I actually called them, and if you're not used to the whole hospitality and nachras orchim and having people for Shabbos, it is kind of weird. So they came and they met us before their daughter came, and then they let their daughter come, and she never stopped coming. Baruch Hashem. When you learn here at Yeshiva University, it's not just an intellectual experience, though that's certainly part of it, but our learning impacts us both as human beings and as Jews. A Judaic studies class here is qualitatively different than a Judaic study classes in another university. Lilmod al minat la'asot. We learn for the sake of doing. Our learning not only strengthens our relationship with Hashem and with our fellow man, but it makes us better people. One of our greatest strengths here is the wide variety of students from many different geographical locations, different backgrounds, and different hashkafot, religious perspectives. I had the zchut of teaching everyone on all those levels. There are so many other colleges to choose from where you don't have the dual curriculum, and yet they choose to come here because they're looking for deep connections with Hashem, with Am Yisrael, Torah Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael. There are many different opportunities for learning and growth here. We have our academic Jewish studies as well as our learning and Torah programming outside of the classroom, including our amazing Shabbatot on campus, which is amazing. I was just here, and this is the third time I've been here this semester, only this semester. You'll hear more about that next. Hashem promised Avraham that his children will be like the stars and the sand. Why stars and sand? Is it to show the great number of Jews that come from him? If so, then I don't know if the bracha was really fulfilled, because the number of Jews in the world is not great. So what is the bracha to Abraham? Perhaps Hashem is telling Abraham that his children will be great individuals and also a great community. Often, if there are great individuals, you could lose your sense of community. And if you have a strong community sometimes, you can lose your individuality. Perhaps Hashem's promise to Avram is that you'll be both a great community as well as great individuals. We are an amazing community here on the Barron campus of Yeshiva University. While we foster a strong sense of community, it's not at the expense of the individual, and vice versa. We help strengthen each individual and help each of our Talmidot reach her individual potential, while at the same time creating a strong, vibrant, and powerful community. One final thought. We say in our request to Hashem when we put the Sefer Torah back in the Aron, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Did you ever think about what that means? May we renew our days like the days of old. Well, how does that make sense? How can we renew that which is old? I believe we are charged here with constantly striving for chidush and innovation while remaining deeply bound to the wisdom and truth of our Torah. With that, what President Berman says all the time resonates with us, that we are deeply rooted and forward-focused. That is our mission. That's what we do here. It is my great honor to introduce to you some of the people who I'm so grateful and blessed to have as partners here to help each student maximize her religious and spiritual growth. And at some point over the rest of your day, come and speak to us individually, one-on-one. I'm sure Rabbi Bernstein will introduce his Barron Torah packets. There are a lot of these. Go grab one, look through it, look what we're doing here, talk to us, and you'll get a little bit of a sense of what's going on here. I'd like to introduce Dr. Dina Rabinovich now, our chair of the Judaic Studies Department. And after Dina Rabinovich, Rabbi Jacob and Penina Bernstein, our wonderful campus rabbi and rebbitzin, to share with you a little bit about what goes on campus. And please come, introduce yourselves, come say hi. I'll be here the rest of the day. Thank you for indulging me.
Hello, and thank you, Dean Schechter. I was also thinking how I could be up there on the panel. I could also be up there as the mother of 5 Stern graduates. Our youngest daughter graduated this past May and are doing a variety of things in their professional lives, and happy to share that. But the reason I'm up here right now is to discuss why you're choosing to send your daughters to Yeshiva University, to Stern College, and that's the Jewish studies and the focus it will play in her life. I'd like to use the metaphor of a journey, because I firmly believe that the college years are the years where we continue to grow, where we learn who we want to be as we emerge, or we're still learning even many years later, but that at the same time that we're learning for our professional lives, we want to inculcate and integrate the Jewish studies as well. So as with any journey, there are different points in which you embark. There are different levels that you could begin your Jewish studies journey at Stern College for Women. We offer the Mechina, or beginner's track, and you heard from Leah today. We have the intermediate track, we have an advanced track, we have an honors track. No matter what your level is, we have a class for you that will satisfy your needs and help take you to the next level. There are different destinations on your journey. There are different subjects that you can learn here. There's Bible, which is code for Tanakh, and we offer at different points almost all of the 24 books of Tanakh throughout the semesters. There's Juds, that's code for Judaic Studies, Halacha, or Torah Shebaal Peh. Whether you want the Halacha track and learn different topics about how do we interact with the world at large, whether you want to learn about Shabbat or Kashrut, whether you want to learn about medical ethics or women in Jewish law, we have courses for you. If you enjoy learning Torah Shebaal Peh, we have amazing Talmud tracks as well. We have Jewish history and Jewish philosophy, through which we learn where we have come from, what has shaped us as a nation, and where we are going. And we learn how do we interact with the worldviews around us. Our class sizes are capped at a certain amount. We believe in the professor-student, the mechanechet-student relationship, to help each individual grow as she wants. It's always based on her and what her journey is and what she wants to do. We invite you to come up later to the 7th floor, to the wonderful Beit Midrash, You can see some examples of the courses we are offering this semester, others that we have offered in the past. We haven't yet published the one for the spring, but it's almost ready for publication. I'm also happy to talk to you about the possibilities of majoring in Jewish studies or minoring, or the Jewish Ed department that we have, which I also direct, and also more information about the Mechina program. It is the Jewish studies component that makes Stern College unique. It is why I chose it for myself so many years ago. I happened to be in Israel at the time. I didn't make the decision during my last year of high school. But it was during my year in Israel that I realized I wanted to continue my journey. I wanted my finals to be in Jewish studies as well. I knew myself enough by that point that I would have really good intentions September and October. Come midterms, they might not last. And that was not the way I wanted to keep on with my college, with my year. I have not regretted once being in Stern College, being in the bubble. Have I exited? Have I gone out of it? I've spent a lot of time teaching in day schools. I have gone out to the main world, the professional world. And I'm still happy for the relationships and the privilege of teaching at Stern College, and for the privilege of sending all of my children to Yeshiva University as well. At this point, it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce to you the Rabbi and Rebbitzin on campus, Rabbi Jacob and Penina Bernstein, to talk to you what goes on outside the classroom as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rabinovich. I have been privileged actually to be a Jewish education major in Dr. Rabinovich's program, so I feel doubly privileged and honored to be speaking after her. Just wanted to introduce my husband and myself, Penina Bernstein. I am the campus Rebbitzin here on the Barron campus. This is my husband, Rabbi Jacob. And we feel really privileged, honestly, to be such a part of this community. It's a tremendous community with amazing students, many of which you've heard from this morning. We're excited to tell you a little bit about what happens outside of the walls of this classroom, specifically in the realm of Torah and spiritual life. But of course, as I'm sure you heard from a lot of the students, what we offer is also beyond Torah and spiritual life, but our particular focus is Torah and spiritual life.
Thank you so much. Yes, we are both proud alumni of this very institution, a number of the schools actually, continuing on, Mitzvah Hashem, with as many of the schools we could possibly get into. But what we want to talk about is this institution and the students on this campus, because what this community is all about is about thinking about really where you're going to be going. I know that you've heard a number of divrei Torah, and this is not going to be one of those. This is just simply going to frame what I'm about to say. In these parsha, we talk about the different tefillot, Shacharit, Mincha, Maariv, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, each framing a moment in our day to be able to reflect and to talk to God. What I consider this experience to be is the Mincha prayer. It's in the middle of your experience. It's the middle of your young adulthood. You've begun to formulate where you'd like to be in life, but these are the years that you're going to make the most important decisions for the rest of your life. What you're going to be doing with your life, who you're going to be spending your life with, where you intend to spend your life. These are the walls. This is an institution that you're going to be able to do that with the values, the core Torah values that will help you frame the experience. In the classroom, as you've heard about, but out of the classroom, and I could go on, and I'm not here to list for you. We have the packets, as mentioned. They're on the walls. They'll be downstairs. Come and take one. But you'll have opportunities to hear from our Rosh Yeshiva from Uptown campus who come on a weekly basis. You have the opportunities to hear from speakers both from Eretz Yisrael as well as on our campus. Just to name a few, Rav Willig will be coming this upcoming week. Rabbanit Shani Tarragon will be coming this week. Rav Moshe Tzvi Weinberg will be coming this upcoming week. The upcoming week after that, Mrs. Jackie Bitone, Mrs. Michal Horowitz, Rebbitzin, if you find her. And Rav Shechter, Rav Hershel Shechter will be coming soon. And Rabbi Blast and Rav Sobolovsky. Again, I said I wasn't going to list it, but it's so exciting. How could I not list these opportunities? How could I not? It's because this is what happens in this institution. It's not just the shiurim. There are WhatsApp groups to be able to ask a campus rabbi, to be able to ask what shilos may come up in your day-to-day experiences. You're not here on your own. You're part of a framework. There are guides. There are student guides, student-led chaburot, but also student ambassadors, student leaders who are creating these opportunities for you, here to guide you along your path. And madrichot to be able to be there for you, to welcome you, and to ensure that the passageway is one that allows you to do exactly what mincha is, to stop in the middle of a busy experience, to reflect, and to think about where you are going. This is the place to accomplish that.
With all of that, the week is definitely loaded with a lot of Torah opportunities, whether it's all the shiurim, whether it's student-led chaburot from us and from some of our new rabbinic intern couples. But that's also in addition to the Shabbos experience, which we also consider to be a key component of the educational experience on this campus, of the community building experience on this campus. Every single Shabbos has a different theme, a different feel, but what stands at the core of our Shabbos experience really is that community, the Barron campus community, a community that can have 375 students the first Shabbos, but go to a sleepaway camp for a weekend just to enjoy each other's company and each other's presence. We have faculty members that come over the course of the semesters. We have outside guests that come over the course of the semester. A lot of the schedule is in here. We actually have seminary reunions that happen on this campus, all of which is really exciting. We have a minyan on campus every single week, and Baruch Hashem, it's an experience that our students really look forward to, not only just as a place where they're stuck here to stay, but really is something that gives them a lot of chiyus, a lot of energy to go about their week, to enjoy the overall campus experience, but to know that they always have a place here, to know that they always have a home here.
And so whether it is that you're participating in a Torah shiur, whether you're participating in a chesed event, whether you're participating in one of the numerous Shabbatot experiences that we have on this campus, you know that when you're here, there's a framework around you. There are staff, there's faculty, there are programming, there are opportunities that allow you to be your best self and to frame how your best self will continue on well beyond these years. This is a jumping off board. It's a place to stop, to reflect, to pray mincha, so to speak. In this room, in general, actually, literally, but also figuratively, to pray mincha, to stop and to reflect on your life, to think about where you want to be 10, 15, 20 years from now, and to have the support system around you, the Torah programming and the Shabbatot, to ensure you do so in the best way possible. Thank you so much.
As a proud alumnus of this institution, I'll just say this is the best place to do it. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Okay. I want to thank the Bernsteins once again. I know everyone's tired. I promise we have coffee for you outside on your way out as you participate in the rest of the program this morning. But I wanted to take an opportunity as we conclude this morning's program talking about and segueing into what is an integral piece of a YU and a Yeshiva University education, and that is a gap year in Israel. But before you get and after you get to the gap year in Israel and you come back here, I just want to mention that over the course of the last 3 years, Yeshiva University has opened 20 new graduate programs in the most cutting edge and the market trends hottest fields, whether it be physician assistant, whether it be artificial intelligence, whether it be occupational therapy. Your pathway, in the sense of you being able to get both an undergrad and graduate degree on a very clear YU path, is there for you. And part of that pathway is that experience in Israel. And we are privileged to have here the executive director of our Israeli campus and the SDA program, Ms. Stephanie Strauss, who will conclude this openings program with final remarks.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the flagship Jewish University. I am Stephanie Strauss, and I really do have the privilege of being executive director of our Israel campus. I'll tell you that I'm not partial. I do love all of our Torah values, but you have to forgive me if Torah Zion does speak to me. And I think it would be remiss if I didn't share that in the role that I get to play at Yeshiva University in Israel, I have the opportunity year in, year out to welcome our students during the course of their experience at Yeshiva University to come to Israel for a truly immersive experience aside from the gap year, meaning once they're already YU students. We have in the last number of years brought our students during winter break to experience our Discover Innovation in the Startup Nation Rensab Fellows trip. We bring 25 or so students to come and visit Israeli high-tech companies, meet with executives, perhaps prepare for potential internships, and many executives happen to also be proud YU alumni who are living in Israel. Yes, we have over 5,000 alumni who live in Israel today. In the summer, we've then now recently launched our summer internship program, and last summer, for the first time, brought 10 YU students to have fully immersive 7-week summer internship programs at Israeli startups in Israel, wrapped with a YU experience of wonderful learning, meetings with our Rosh Yeshiva, meetings with executives, meeting with Rabbi Berman. And that's just some of what we get to do as our students go back and forth across what we like to call our YU Israel superhighway. So back to what we're going to talk about very briefly, which is the initial part of what we hope will be your YU experience, which is the year in Israel. We have a fantastic team working out of our Jerusalem campus. These are our Israel advisors and part of our satellite admissions office. By enrolling in the SDA Abraham Israel program, you're ensuring that your daughter will have access to a full array of benefits. You may be eligible for federal or state aid. You will get a fantastic transcript to reflect the credits that you've earned in Israel. And of course, our fantastic staff, which are proud of our ability and our passion to get to know our students individually throughout their time in Israel and to support their growth while they're learning in Israel at one of our many affiliated programs. We provide academic advisement and extracurricular programs in preparation for the transition back to Yeshiva University. In addition, your daughters will have the opportunity to hear from many YU academics, Torah personalities, and administrative staff who visit our Israel schools throughout the year, offering guidance, support, academic advisement, etc. And ultimately, will also be able to register for their classes while they're in Israel at the end of their academic year, having one-on-one academic advisement from many deans and important personalities that will help shape their future at Yeshiva University. So we're very proud of our affiliation with over 40 affiliated schools and seminaries that are in Israel, and we invest significant time at those schools in that relationship to make sure that they are providing a safe and educationally rich environment that supports our students. Every school in the YU program submits to a rigorous academic review of their facility and their support network for their support services for their students. And thanks to that oversight, we are able to award academic credit to over 1,000 students studying in our Israel seminaries every year. So now that you're joining us here for our open house and our Israel fair, we think this is the right time that we could help assist you in this process. Whether this is your first child going off to Israel or your fourth, it's time to kick those tires and ask the right questions to the administrators that you're going to come in contact with over these next few weeks. So for those of you that are joining us virtually, if you're not here today, we hope that you will also access the virtual Israel fairs on the Israel Next Year platform, which is a YU-sponsored platform, in which you'll get to also meet other representatives from the Israel schools. And that virtual Israel fair, for those that are not in person, will take place next Sunday, November 21st. So allowing your daughter to spend a year in Israel is a very important decision and will certainly give her a powerful once-in-a-lifetime experience. Choosing the right school needs to be less about where your neighbor's kid went and more about focusing on what your daughter's goals are for herself. Ask yourself, in what environment will she grow in critical thinking, in textual skills, and in gaining independence? What program will provide opportunities to engage with Israelis, to nurture a deep love for Eretz Yisrael? Consider the educational parameters of these institutions, whether a Gemara-based curriculum, Chavruta-style learning is appropriate and important to you, or whether a frontal or discussion-based approach to Jewish studies is the best thing for your growth. Ask how much of the day is classroom-based or Beit Midrash-based, and how much is experiential learning beyond the brick and mortar of the classroom. You may explore other administrative questions as well. How does the calendar balance the ratio of time in and out of the school for Shabbatot? And what sort of supervision and support is there when students are out of their schools? What are the metrics for their success, and where do their students go after SEM? Our team, our YU Israel team, is based in our Jerusalem campus, and we do hope to be among the first faces you'll see when you land on the other side of the ocean next year. We'd like them and all of you to know that we are here, available throughout the year, to assist with any challenges that may arise, to offer our best guidance and encouragement. And until we see you on the other side of the ocean, I'll be happy to be walking around the campus, happy to answer any questions you have about YU, about our SDA Abraham Israel program, or any other questions that you may have. And so this concludes our morning welcome meetings, and I'd like to remind everyone to please take advantage of all the facets that Yeshiva University has to offer you today. Please visit our breakout sessions, our campus tour, find out how you can make Yeshiva University affordable for you. Welcome to Yeshiva University, and have a great day.
Welcome to Yeshiva University's Open House. My name is Bob Friedman, and I am the University Director of Student Finance. Thank you for joining us. I hope to impart information to you today about financing education beyond high school and the things that you really need to pay attention to as you move through the process. These are the list of topics that we're going to touch on today. Things like what is financial aid. We're going to start with some basic definitions, cost of attendance and expected family contribution, all of these things that you've seen used before. I'll try to define those things for you and give you information that you're going to need to know as you move through the process. Where does the aid come from? How do I get access to the aid? And of course, what happens when my son or daughter travels to Israel and studies to Israel? How does that come into play? We're going to talk about all those things today. But to start with, we really need to come up with you need to understand a definition of financial aid, right? Everybody has their own definition of financial aid. And for most people, it's the first two bullets on the left, scholarships and grants, right? That's not a mystery because that's what we all want as parents, as students. We all want the scholarships and grants. Why? Because on the right side of the circle, you'll see it called gift aid. And that's exactly what it sounds like. If you qualify for it, you get it. You don't have to do anything else. You already exhibited the behavior to be eligible for those, whether it's based on need, which we'll talk about, or whether it's based on merit. That's what we all want. That's what the student wants. That's what a parent definitely wants. You also need to know that financial aid does include loans. We'll talk briefly about student and parent loans today. And we'll talk about some employment opportunities in the federal work-study program, right? That's also called self-help aid because there is behavior necessary. If you take out a loan, it must be repaid, for example. And in order to be eligible for the federal work-study program, you have to work, right? As is true with employment in general, right? And then there's this definition of financial need, a very, very difficult and confusing concept, right? But this is what Yeshiva University's definition is and what most schools across the country are using. If you take your cost of attendance and subtract your expected family contribution, you arrive at your financial need. Now, let's break that down a little bit, starting with the cost of attendance, right? Basically, cost of attendance falls into two categories. On the left of your screen, you have your direct costs, and on the right of your screen are your indirect costs. And mom and dad, indirect is just a fancy word for out of pocket. So don't let that throw you. Again, the direct costs, tuition and fees. Yeah, you know, everybody's going to charge tuition and fees. We can't get away from that. Room and board. If your son or daughter lives on campus, you're going to be charged for room and board as well. If your son or daughter does not live on campus, they live at home, for example, then clearly the school's not going to charge you for food and housing, but some of your other indirect costs will go up, like transportation and out-of-pocket food cost will go up. So there's an interplay there depending on whether or not your son or daughter lives on campus. And I also list health insurance because everybody needs to pay attention to health insurance. It is not cheap, you will not miss it, and everybody needs to be covered. If your son or daughter is covered under your plan, then you will want to waive out of the university's health insurance plan. You'll see more information about that during the enrollment process. Yes, your indirect costs are things like books, a computer, a laptop, and like I mentioned before, transportation costs. All of those things will vary based on the student. Some students spend more money than others. You know, mom and dad, in your family, who spends more money and who saves more money. So all of these things will vary from student to student. We put all of this together, and that is what we're trying to do and when we come up with your cost of attendance. And then we subtract from this the expected family contribution, or EFC. It's really just an index. It's not a number that you're going to be expected to pay, but we're going to use this index to help us allocate funds to your sons and daughters, right? It's in the blue box, there's a student contribution. In the red box, there's a parental contribution. So what goes into the expected family contribution? This is really what families want to know. And on this screen, these are the items, the bullet points. Really, it's the top 3 bullet points that go into determining need. And the first bullet talks about how many people in your household, right? So they have a picture of a roof and 4 people in the household, and then they ask how many of those people are in college, right? Well, guess what, folks? The feds are, by asking the questions the way they do, they are recognizing that a family of 6 or 7 or 8 is a lot different than a family of 3, 4, or 5. And we know, financially, we know that to be true. So, and then when you have how many people in college, then you're allowed to, they're also recognizing again that if you have more than 1 student in college, we already know you have 1 student in college, that's the one that you are, who is applying, who might be a senior in high school right now, who is about to apply, but in future years you may have more than 1 in college, and they are also recognizing that and giving you an opportunity to indicate that. Those are seemingly innocent questions on the FAFSA, but they're vitally important that you get those right. The next bullet is adjusted gross income for 2020. Well, that's the last year. 2020 is the last year that we've all filed our tax returns. Nobody has filed for 2021 yet. So that's the information that you're going to be using. In fact, you're going to hopefully use the data retrieval tool, which is a link from the FAFSA to the IRS. And you'll be able to pull that information in straight from your tax return without having to data enter anything. So when you get the opportunity to use the data retrieval tool, or DRT, use it. Right? That's a tip. The third bullet, investments, assets, and business value. And I posted 4 paragraphs here on screen because there's some nuances to investments, right? First, investments include real estate, they say, but do not include the value of your home that you live in. Right? So what do they do in one fell swoop? They take your home off the table, and you don't have to include the value of your home. That's a tremendous benefit to families. So the FAFSA does not ask you your home value. Okay? That's what real estate are they talking about then? Other real estate. If you have a second home, a condo, a timeshare, a piece of land, piece of property, yes, you need to include those things, just not the student's primary residence. Okay? If you have no other real estate, then the answer is 0. Next, they definitely talk about 529 college savings plans, and you do need to include the value of all 529 college savings plans for all of your kids. Third, they say it again, investments do not include the home you live in or the value of life insurance, so that's another benefit. But they also, in another line here, exclude your retirement plans, a 401k, an IRA, a KEO, any money in a formally labeled retirement plan, you do not have to include on the FAFSA, or a 403B if you work for a not-for-profit organization like Yeshiva University is, and I have a 403B plan, I don't have to include the value of my retirement plan. Okay? So what the feds are saying here are, how are we going to determine your need? Well, we're going to figure out how many people are in your household, how many of those people are in college, what's your income in a given calendar year? In this case, the most recent one is 2020. And what are your investments, assets, and business value, but not your home and not your retirement accounts. Then we go to work. Then we try to figure out a family's quote unquote need. Not a perfect science, but we are collecting similar information from all families. Not all information, but similar information from all families. In the last paragraph I just put up here, on the screen that you also do not have to include the value of your business if your family owns or controls more than 50% of it and you have fewer than 100 full-time employees. So that does come into play at Yeshiva University, and that's why I left it there. I wanted everybody to know if you're a sole proprietor, if you own your own business, if you're a doctor or a dentist and you have your own business and it's a small business and it's all yours and you have 2 or 3 employees, you don't have to include the value of your business as well. It does come into play for YU families and is why I wanted to mention it. Where does the money come from? Now that we know what goes into the FAFSA, so where does the money come from? Certainly from the federal government. And also from the state government. All states have a grant program, right? The thing with state aid, though, is it's not portable. So if you live in New York and you go to a New York school, you can get a state grant if you qualify. But if you live in New Jersey or Maryland and go to a New York school, you will not get state aid. And the same thing is true with the rest of the states across the country, in Illinois, in California, Texas, Florida. You're not going to be able to take your state grant across state lines. You have to stay in state in order to use it. The biggest source of aid on this page, though, is going to come from the university and the college, and Yeshiva University is no different, right? A year ago, we spent $46 million leveling the playing field in trying to make YU affordable, which we did successfully for many, many, many YU families. We received $2 million from the federal government. From our state government, we received about $1 million. And all that money is very, very important and vital, but it's the university dollars that is the make or break money for you, mom and dad. That's what you need to put yourself in line for, and that's why you need to follow the steps of the financial aid process throughout. The Pell Grant for the current year, for the most recent year, is $6,500. The TAP grant in the third bullet is $5,500. So that's a lot of money. That's about $12,000 between those two programs. But in order for YU to make YU affordable for a family, we then have to come right over top of that and award $30,000, $35,000 in addition to that to make YU affordable. So that's what I mean by the make or break money. That's what you need to put yourself in line for by following the steps. Folks, certainly employment's very important. I happened to work my way through college. I know many of you, if we took a poll, many of you did the same thing. It's not unique to me. But a work-study employment, even if it's a couple hours a week, but this typically is what students use for pocket money, maybe to buy books. Definitely, I'm a big fan of students working in the summertime, working and saving money in the summertime as opposed to working and spending. And also you need to pay attention to things like being an RA, a resident advisor, like a dorm counselor, because at YU, if you wind up becoming a dorm counselor, you get a free room, and that could be upwards of $10,000, a discount off your bill. So you still have to work, you still have to do the job, but it's a tremendous savings on when you get the invoice, and it will not go unnoticed, as I'm sure. And we do need to talk about student loans, you know, and I know that this is not a very popular topic, but you need to know what's out there and what's available to students and to parents. This, what you see on screen, is the Stafford Federal Direct Loan Program. This is the guaranteed student loan program that is available to students really no matter what school they go to, right? I say at the top, budgeting is vital. Yes, please budget your money. If you're not budgeting your money, I might argue that you don't really know if you need the loan in the first place. And if you don't need the loan, don't take it, right? I hope everybody hears me saying that. It's definitely an investment in the future. You know, if you have to borrow to achieve your bachelor's degree so that you can get into the graduate program of your choice, the medical school of your choice, the law school of your choice, then you're investing in yourself with your undergraduate degree. But what's the hooks? What are the big hooks here on student loans? Why are they so popular? Well, it's the third bullet, right? Repayment, you don't have to make payments on the loans while the student is in school, right? So it says repayment begins 6 months after your education is finished. And we're not just talking about your undergraduate education. You know, we know, Mom and Dad, that our students will go on and get multiple degrees in their lifetime. Undergrad to law school, undergrad to med school, undergrad to a social work program, or the School of Psychology, or many other programs that a student can, well, they don't have to make payments as long as they are in a program. So it doesn't stop once your undergraduate is finished. And look how much they offer you, right? Notice the feds in the left-hand columns. You'll see the grade in college, and then you'll see, it says might be subsidized, right? So what does that word subsidized mean, right? Subsidized is speaking to interest. So if your loan is subsidized and you don't have to make payments on it, then the federal government is giving you money as a freshman, $3,500, as a sophomore, $4,500, as a junior and a senior, $5,500 each year. And you don't have to make payments on it, nor are you being charged interest for it if the loan is subsidized. For how long? 4 years, 4.5 years, 7.5 years if you go to law school, maybe 9 or 10.5 years if you're in med school. So the feds are going to give you money and not ask you for payments and not charge you any interest while the student is in school. That's why the student loan program is so popular in the United States of America, right? And notice how the feds give you a little less at the beginning, $3,500 as a freshman, but $5,500 as a senior, more at the end, because they know that if you make it from freshman to sophomore to junior to senior year, that you're going to graduate. And the feds know that already. So that's why they give, if you don't make it from freshman to sophomore year, then your loan indebtedness is in check, and they should be able to cover that. But Mom and Dad, they're not speaking to Yeshiva University students, right? We know your sons and daughters are going to persist. So, but that is the federal loan program, and that's why I pointed out to you. What are the costs? I just told you there's no interest on the loan if it's subsidized. In the most recent year, the interest rate is 3.73% once the loan gets to repayment. I wish it was lower, Mom and Dad. I wish it was 1 or 2%, but 3.73 is actually not too bad. We do lobby for lower interest rates all the time, but 3.73 is where we land for the most recent rate. It's fixed for the life of the loan. And then there's the fee. The fee is 1%. Technically it's 1.057, but 1% is $10 on 1,000. If you borrow $3,500, your fee is $35. It's not breaking the bank. So that's the cost of the loan. No penalties for paying it off early. Even though on screen it says repayment period is between 10 and 30 years, usually it's 10 or less, folks. You don't need to take out these loans over 30 years. That's what we find. These are federal loans. There's protections with the loans. It's not Citibank or Sallie Mae or a private lender. The federal government has loan forgiveness programs for teachers, right, who we know are not going to make the salaries that other students in other sectors are going to make. That's why they have a loan forgiveness program for teachers and for public service, etc. So there's information there for you, but that's why the student loan program is so popular. And there's even a loan for parents, right? But notice a couple of differences. These are federal loans too, and you can borrow up to the cost of education. there is a credit check, not like the student loans that are guaranteed, but because you can borrow any amount you want up to the cost of attendance, there is a credit check involved, and the feds will walk you through that, and quickly, right? They'll do it on screen. You'll know like immediately. It's not going to take weeks and weeks. It's a fixed interest rate also, but look at the rate. It's 6.28. It's almost 3 points higher than the student loan. So, that hurts. And look at the fee is 4.2%, not the 1% anymore. So that also hurts that the fee is so much higher. Folks, if you don't need the parent loan, many people could beat this on their own, with their own home equity line of credit or something like that. Go ahead and beat it, please. But for many people, this will be the best loan that they can get. So please, I just want you to know what's available to you out there. If you're $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 short at the end of the whole discussion, then this is typically what parents turn to. Okay, so folks, how do we get access to all this aid? I've mentioned the FAFSA a couple of times already, but this is what it is. It's the free application for federal student aid. I try to pause after I say free because we don't want you to pay to file this form. If you find yourself paying, you're not at the right website. The only website, and you'll see it consistently here on the next couple of slides, is studentaid.gov. This is the filing season has begun. For example, for the 22-23 academic year, the filing season has already begun. The key is, what does the college want you to file by, right? Aid is awarded on a first come, first served basis. So meet all the deadlines. Any deadline that the school has, make sure you meet it, right? Don't argue with them. Make sure you submit the form or any forms that they're asking for by the deadline, because that will put you in line to get the maximum amount of financial aid as possible. And again, what's financial aid? Grants, scholarships, loans, work study. That's what you want, right? This is what the form looks like. It is live right now for the 22-23 academic year. If you're starting the process out, you click the top button. If you're a returning user, then you're logging in, no different than anything else like your bank account. How do you set up an account? You're going to be asked to set up these things called the FSA ID, Federal Student Aid ID number. So folks, you'll need two. The student will need their own FSA ID. And really, that's what you're logging into. That's what the student is logging into, their account. And one parent will need their own FSA ID, right? Folks, mom and dad, if you have more than one student in college and you're filing more than one FAFSA this year, you can use your FSA ID on both, right? But each student will have and need their own. This is where you would go to sign up for one, but if you go to studentaid.gov, that's going to be the first step. They're going to push you right to there to go do that. And here are some helpful hints about filing the FAFSA. You got to file the FAFSA every single year. I'm sorry, right? I wish this was a one and done kind of thing, but it's not. In subsequent years, you're going to be filing a renewal. It will be easier, I promise, in years 2, 3, and 4 of undergrad than it is in year 1 of undergrad. So you got to file every single year. Also, if I mentioned this already too, but if you have more than one student in your household in college, each of them must file their own FAFSA. Okay, it can be done on a mobile app. Never thought I would say this, but 5 years ago we were telling people not to use the mobile app. But today we are telling people to use the mobile app because it's much, much better. It's clean, it's neat, and it works. So if you're, I'm still a fan of sitting at a computer and filling out the FAFSA, but if I know the young folks today love to do everything on their phones, and it works. So go ahead. Also, I mentioned the data retrieval tool. earlier, and please use the DRT. It will help you in the long run, right? The feds, when they send the school the information, there will be a code, and it will tell us that the information came directly from the IRS. That will prevent the need for you having to turn your tax return in at any point, because we have the live data from the IRS. So it's to your benefit to use the data retrieval tool. It will ask you whether or not you want to use it, so please just say yes and use the tool. There are a couple of situations where you can't use the data retrieval tool, like if you're married, filing separately, and a couple other situations. But for the overwhelming majority of you, you will be able to use the DRT. Also, folks, don't stress on a question. They're going to ask you a lot of questions, and if the answer does not apply to, if the question does not apply to you and the answer is 0, then just write 0 and move on to the next question, okay? Don't get hung up on things that you should have done or didn't do. Just put a 0 and move on to the next question, okay? In our example that we're working with today, we know that things happen. And certainly in the COVID era, there was lots of income changes and unemployment and people losing jobs and people changing jobs and people going from one industry to another industry, or even in the same industry, but having to take a job for a lower amount. Okay, so we get that. And what happens when there's just some examples on screen here, but the loss of employment or income is probably the biggest one that we have to deal with. Right? What we want you to do is document everything that's happened in terms of income and send it to us, send it to the school, right? If it asks you for your 2020 income information, we know that by the time your son or daughter gets to campus and you're paying your first bill in 2022, your financial life could be completely different. And we get that. And the feds get that too. That's why they allow a school, properly documented, to change your income information, right? You could, for example, send me your final pay stub from your old job. You could send me, I received unemployment benefits for 4 or 5 months. Here's my statement, properly documented. Hey, and now look, I have a new job, but it's only 70 or 75% of my old salary, and here's my most recent 2 pay stubs. Everything I just described is documentable. We'll get it, we'll review it, we will follow up with you if we have more questions or need more documents, and then the feds allow the school, they don't allow you, nor do they do it themselves, they allow the school to go in and update your information on the FAFSA, right? So that's what we mean by, well, life happens. There are circumstances out there that may force us to make an adjustment to your FAFSA, and we will. We do it regularly, and we're happy to do it. I also want to point out that we have something called private school tuition form. In the bottom right, there's a private K-12 bubble. Nowhere on the FAFSA do they ask you any information about what you're paying for your K-12 tuitions. And we know, Mom and Dad, that you've been paying year after year after year, and it doesn't stop. You're probably still paying K-12 tuitions. Well, we have a form for that at YU, and we will look at your K-12 tuitions when evaluating you for institutional scholarship. Again, there's a separate form on our website. Any admission staff or if you go to our website, or any of our admission friends will be able to point you in the right direction. So please get that information over to us as well as a supplement to the FAFSA. Right? Folks, I've put on the screen 3 websites for you. First of all, you know, everything I've told you today about the FAFSA, about grants and loans and the process, you can go look it up yourself at finaid.org. Fantastic website, huge search engine. for private scholarships. Also, the College Board, I listed on the screen, and fastweb.com. Again, huge private scholarship search websites, and free. I think one of the keys with all three of these sites is that you don't need to pay. If you find yourself reaching to pay for a scholarship search engine, stop. Don't do it. There's too many free resources out there, and good free resources for you to be paying for somebody else, paying $250 for somebody to search for scholarships for you that may not go anywhere. So please use one of those. Of course, the College Board are the people who put on the SAT. They have tremendous search engine if you're just looking for colleges too. But this is about private scholarship searches, and fastweb.com is probably the biggest one out there as well. So folks, this is our timetable. This is YU's typical timetable year in and year out. We want you to file the FAFSA by February 1st. Really, I'd love for you to file by January 1st. That way we can get a head start and get a jump on evaluating you. And as soon as you're admitted, we're going to get a financial aid award letter in your hands. That's our goal, right? For you to get admitted. The admission office will let you know what kind of merit scholarship you might be eligible for right away. And then we are going to give you your need-based financial aid package as soon as possible. Once you have that award letter in hand, now you can determine the net cost, right? That's what you really want to know. What's the net cost to me, right? Not the sticker price. What you need to know is that only 2 out of 10 students at YU actually pay the sticker price, right? So the question is, if you're one of the 8 out of 10, then the question is, what is your net cost? That's where we'd like to put you in sometime around February 1st, hopefully before, or not too much after that. Then you're going to know what's the net cost to me. Yes, that's where you want to wind up. And of course, by the 1st of May, you have to do something. You have to pay your deposit. So in order for us to start this whole process, in order for us to land on May 1st with your deposit, then we have to start this process at the very latest by February 1st, if not earlier than that. Also, folks, please don't wait till May 1st to pay. If you're going to pay your deposit online, make it April 30th or April 29th, just in case the internet has an issue, so you won't be hating us. So please, don't wait till the very last second to pay. And yes, of course, what if your son or daughter is going off to Israel in year 1, right? Well, of course, we have the S. Daniel Abraham Israel program. In our present year, we have over 630 men and women, first-year students, freshmen, studying in Israel at over 40 yeshivas and seminaries. All of those students, if they're eligible for any federal or state aid, can use it to help pay for the year in Israel. We're going to offer you very flexible payment options, 10-month payment plan where you can pay us over the 10 months, and YU passes all that money on to the school in Israel. You certainly can use your 529 college savings plan. That's what you've been saving it for, to use it. So in this case, if you're on our Israel program, you can use your 529 to pay the Israel tuition. What a benefit. There is something called a 1098T. It's similar to a 1099 or a W-2 that the school is required to give each student to see if you're eligible for a tax credit. Your accountant should be asking you for that 1098T, should be saying, hey, don't you have an 18-year-old college kid now? Where's the 1098T? So your son or daughter will receive one from, even for the year in Israel. So that could be of benefit to you as well. And yes, you get all your credits on one transcript when you go through our program, which is a benefit to you when you're going on to grad school. You're not thinking about that right now, but it is not insignificant. And then finally, I've given you the Masa Israel website. Masa is an Israeli government agency, a quasi-Israeli government agency that promotes students from all over the world, including Americans, to go and travel in Israel, and they do give away sometimes a couple $100, but I've seen $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 happen as well. So that's the website, and you should visit them as well. So we totally encourage that, and we visit students while they're in Israel on our program along with our staff. And folks, on screen is our contact information. So we are open from 9 to 5:30, Monday to Thursday, 9 to 2:30 every Friday, each Friday. And of course, that's Eastern Time. Our phone number is there, our email address is there, our website is there. We encourage you to please reach out to us if there's anything that we can do to make this experience better for you and hopefully answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for joining us. Please visit the landing page to join our academic breakout sessions.